Chapter 1. Blood on white marble. Gunshot cracked through the gallery like breaking glass. I froze. Champagne flute halfway to my lips, the golden liquid trembling against crystal. Around me, Manhattan's elite continued their polite murmuring, oblivious. Or pretending to be. I'd learned in my 3 years catering high society events that the very wealthy had a particular talent for selective deafness, but I'd grown up in Brighton Beach. I knew the sound of a gun. My manager, Patricia, gripped my elbow. Keep moving, Anya. Whatever you heard, you didn't. The second shot came from somewhere above us, the mezzanine level, where the private collection resided. This time, a woman gasped. The quartet stopped mid-note. Patricia, the kitchen. Now, her manicured nails dug crescents into my skin. I didn't run. Running meant guilt, meant involvement, meant the kind of attention that got girls like me deported or worse. So I walked, steady and straight-backed, the way my grandmother taught me. You are Belarusian. We do not flinch. The kitchen was chaos, servers abandoning trays, the head chef screaming into his phone in rapid French. I slipped past them toward the service elevator, my heart a fist against my ribs. I should leave, clock out, forget. But the mezzanine elevator dinged open, and a man stumbled out, not stumbled, dragged himself. His tuxedo was black, but I could see the darker black spreading across his shoulder, the way he pressed one hand against the wall, leaving red handprints on the white marble. His face was pale, sharp-featured, younger than I expected. Maybe 30. His eyes found mine. They were the color of smoke before fire. You, he said. His voice was rough, controlled despite the blood. You're the server who doesn't smile. I'd noticed him earlier. Hard not to. He'd stood alone near the Rothko, untouched, whiskey in hand, watching the room with the stillness of a predator. I'd offered him stuffed mushrooms. He'd declined without looking at the tray. But he'd looked at me. You need a hospital, I said. I need you to walk away. Behind him, 3 men in dark suits emerged from the elevator. The center one was older, silver-haired, with the kind of face that had made difficult decisions and slept fine after. His gaze flicked from the bleeding man to me. Dominic, he said quietly. Loose ends. The bleeding man. Dominic shifted, blocking me with his body. The movement made him wince, fresh blood seeping between his fingers. She's nobody. A server. Servers talk. This one doesn't. Dominic's shoulders squared despite the wound. I'm sure of it. I should have been terrified. I was terrified. But something else unfurled beneath the fear, a strange, reckless clarity. My babushka used to say I had my mother's stubbornness and my father's terrible timing. Both had gotten them killed. He's right, I said, my voice steadier than it had any right to be. I don't talk. I don't see things. I serve food and I leave. The silver-haired man studied me the way art collectors studied paintings, assessing value, authenticity, worth. Your name? Anya Volkov. Russian? Belarusian? Something flickered across his face. Recognition, maybe. Or calculation. You understand what happens to people who see too much, Miss Volkov? I understand. I saw a man who needs medical attention. Everything else is your business, not mine. The silence stretched. Dominic was watching me now with an intensity that felt like touch. The blood dripping from his fingers made soft sounds against marble. Get him to the car, the older man finally said. The girl walks out the front. If she's smart, she forgets tonight happened. 2 of the suited men moved toward Dominic. He shrugged them off, still staring at me. You're not afraid. It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. I'm terrified. But fear doesn't change what I saw or didn't see. The corner of his mouth lifted, not quite a smile, but close. Dangerous. Close. What's your number? Excuse me? Your phone number. Why would I give you that? Because you're going to. He said it like a fact, like gravity or dawn. And because I'm going to make sure you stay safe after tonight. I don't need you do now. His eyes held mine. You became involved the moment you didn't run. One of the suited men cleared his throat. Boss, we need to move. Dominic pulled a card from his jacket. White, expensive stock, embossed with a single phone number. His blood smeared one corner as he held it out. When they come asking questions, you call me first. I took the card. Our fingers brushed, and I felt it like electricity, like warning. They left through the service entrance. Dominic walking under his own power now, pride or stubbornness keeping him upright. The silver-haired man paused at the door. Forget tonight, Miss Volkov. For your own sake. Then I was alone in the hallway, Police sirens wailing in the distance, a blood-stained business card burning in my palm. I should have thrown it away. I didn't. Chapter 2. The interrogations detectives arrived at my apartment at 6 in the morning. I was already awake, had been for hours, sitting at my kitchen table with cold coffee and Dominic's card. The blood had dried to rust brown at the corner. I'd scrubbed my hands 3 times, but I could still feel the phantom warmth of it. The knock was professional. Firm, patient, inevitable. I opened the door to find a woman in her 40s, sharp-eyed and tired, flanked by a younger man with a notebook. She held up a badge. Miss Volkov? Detective Sarah Chen. This is Detective Morrison. We need to ask you some questions about last night's incident at the Castellane Gallery. I'd prepared for this. Rehearsed it in my head during the sleepless hours. Of course. Come in. My studio apartment was small but meticulously clean, a habit from childhood, from never having enough space or money to waste either. Chen's eyes catalogued everything. The single window overlooking the fire escape, the hot plate I used for cooking, the stack of SL textbooks on the shelf. You worked the gallery event last night, Chen said, settling into my only chair. Morrison remained standing, blocking the door. Walk me through your evening. I recited the facts. Arrived at 5. Set up stations, served drinks and hors d'oeuvres, heard what might have been a car backfiring around 10:30, left at 11 when the event was shut down. A car backfiring, Chen repeated. That's what you heard. I'm not sure what I heard. It was loud, but the gallery is near the street. And you didn't see anything unusual? Anyone injured? The card felt like fire in my pocket. I saw guests leaving, security moving people toward exits. I assumed there was some kind of emergency. Chen leaned forward. Miss Volkov, a man was shot on the mezzanine level last night. Multiple witnesses place you near the service elevator around that time. My heart hammered, but I kept my face still. I went to the kitchen. My manager told me to. Did you see anyone come down from the mezzanine? It was chaotic. People everywhere. That's not an answer. I met her eyes. No, I didn't see anyone. Morrison spoke for the first time. You've been in the country for 3 years on a work visa. Overstaying that visa could result in deportation. The threat was delicate, wrapped in bureaucratic language. I felt the familiar cold weight of powerlessness, the knowledge that I existed here at the government's pleasure, that my entire life could be erased with paperwork. I'm aware of my visa status, I said quietly. It's current, for now, Morrison said. But harboring information in a criminal investigation could change that. Chen shot him a look, then softened her voice. Anya, may I call you Anya? I know you're scared. Whatever you saw, whoever you're protecting, they don't care about you the way you think they do. These people, she paused, choosing words carefully. They use people like you. And when you're no longer useful, they discard you. I thought of Dominic's smoke gray eyes, the way he'd stepped between me and the silver-haired man, the blood on his hands. She's nobody. A server. Chen was right. I was nothing to them. A potential problem to eliminate. So why hadn't they? I want to help, I said, and meant it. But I don't know anything. I served food. I heard a noise. I went to the kitchen, and then I went home. Chen studied me for a long moment. Then she placed a photograph on the table, a surveillance still from the gallery. It showed the mezzanine elevator, time-stamped 10:30 for p.m. The image was grainy, partially obscured by a decorative column. Cameras caught someone entering this elevator around the time of the shooting, she said. The footage is corrupted, imagine that. But we're working on recovering it. If you're in that elevator, Anya, if you saw something and didn't report it, that makes you an accessory. The apartment felt too small suddenly, airless. I forced myself to breathe slowly. I wasn't in that elevator. Then you won't mind if we check your phone records? See who you've been in contact with. I thought of the card in my pocket. The number I hadn't called yet. I'd prefer to speak with a lawyer first. Morrison's expression hardened, but Chen nodded. That's your right, but think carefully, Anya. Whatever loyalty you think you owe these people, it won't save you. It never does. They left me with a business card of their own, plain white, economical printing. The opposite of Dominic's in every way. I stood at the window after they'd gone, watching the street below. A black sedan idled at the corner, too expensive for this neighborhood. I couldn't see through the tinted windows, but I felt watched. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Don't call the police back. You did well. My hands shook as I typed. Who is this? The response was immediate. You know who. Meet me tonight. I'll send the address. Come alone. Why would I do that? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Because you're curious. Because you didn't throw away my card. Because you want to understand what you're caught in the middle of. I should delete the messages. Block the number. Call Detective Chen. Instead, I typed, what guarantee do I have that it's safe? None. But you'll come anyway. I hated that. He was right. Hated the flutter in my chest that wasn't entirely fear. Hated that some reckless part of me wanted to see him again. Wanted to understand the man who'd bled on white marble and looked at me like I mattered. What time? 8. Wear something nice. We're going to dinner. Chapter 3. The Devil's to Bleed address led me to a restaurant in Tribeca that didn't have a sign. I'd walked past the steel door twice before a man in a charcoal suit materialized from the shadows. He was massive, 6'5" at least, with the kind of build that came from discipline, not vanity. Miss Volkov? His voice was surprisingly gentle. Yes, this way. Inside, the restaurant was all dark wood and Edison bulbs, the kind of place where reservations were made months in advance and menus had no prices. A dozen tables half occupied by people who radiated wealth and danger in equal measure. They looked up as I entered, assessed me, dismissed me, all except one. Dominic sat in the back corner, positioned so he could see both entrances. His shoulder was bandaged beneath a crisp white shirt, jacket draped over the chair. He looked paler than he had at the gallery, shadows under his eyes, but his posture was relaxed, controlled. He stood as I approached. The gesture was old-fashioned, courtly. It didn't match the violence I'd witnessed. You came, he said. You knew I would. Hoped. Not the same thing. He pulled out my chair. Sit, please. I sat because my legs were unsteady, because the walk here had been an exercise in second-guessing every instinct I'd ever trusted. Up close, I could see the fine lines of pain bracketing his mouth, the rigid way he held his left side. You should be in a hospital, I said. I have excellent private care. He settled back into his seat with careful precision. The bullet went clean through. I've had worse. That's supposed to reassure me? No, it's supposed to explain why I'm here having dinner instead of bleeding out somewhere. He signaled the waiter who appeared instantly. The lady will have the Chilean sea bass. I'll have the usual. And bring us the Sto Margot. I can order for myself, I said. You can. But you won't like anything else on the menu tonight. Trust me. The waiter vanished. I leaned forward. I don't trust you. I don't even know you. Dominic Russo. He extended his right hand. Pleased to officially meet you. Anya Volkov. I didn't take it. That's a name, not an explanation. He withdrew his hand, something like amusement flickering in his eyes. What do you want to know? Why was someone shooting at you? Professional disagreement. Are you going to give me a real answer, or are we wasting each other's time? The amusement deepened. You're direct. I like that. He paused as the waiter returned with wine, going through the tasting ritual with casual efficiency. Once we were alone again, he continued, I run certain business operations in the city. Not everyone appreciates my methods. What kind of operations? The kind that keep neighborhoods safe, that fund community programs, that ensure the right people get elected and the wrong people understand their limitations. Your mob, I said flatly. That's a crude term. He sipped his wine. I prefer to think of myself as a pragmatic businessman who operates outside conventional regulatory frameworks. Your mob, I repeated. He smiled, then a real smile, unexpected and devastating. Yes, the honesty was more unsettling than any lie would have been. I reached for my wine glass, needing something to do with my hands. The wine was extraordinary, wasted on my nerves. The man with you at the gallery, I said. Silver hair. Who was he? My uncle. Salvatore Russo. Dominic's expression hardened. He runs the family. I'm his, let's say, his special projects manager. And the shooting? A message from the Calabrese family. We've been having territorial negotiations. They find my negotiating style too aggressive. Did you kill anyone? The question hung between us. Around us, the restaurant hummed with quiet conversation, the clink of silverware on porcelain. Normal sounds in an abnormal situation. Not last night, Dominic said finally. Though I wanted to. Why are you telling me this? Because you asked. Because you're going to hear things about me. And I'd rather you hear the truth from me first. He leaned forward. And I caught his scent, sandalwood and something darker. Copper, maybe. Blood. Because you interest me. Anya, you stood in that hallway with my uncle. ready to make you disappear. And you didn't beg, didn't cry, didn't offer to do anything for mercy. Would it have helped? No. But most people don't realize that. The food arrived perfectly plated, artfully arranged. I looked at the sea bass, my appetite gone. The detectives came to see me, I said, his fork paused halfway to his mouth. What did you tell them? Nothing. But they're watching me. And they're recovering surveillance footage. The footage is corrupted. Permanently, he said it with such certainty that I understood. It wasn't an accident. As for the detectives, they'll back off. Consider it handled. How? You really want those details? I didn't, but I needed to understand what I'd walked into. What invisible web was wrapping around me with every minute I stayed in this restaurant? Yes, I said. Dominic set down his fork, studying me with an intensity that made my skin warm. Detective Chen has a daughter at Columbia. Full scholarship. Needs to stay that way. Detective Morrison has gambling debts he'd prefer his wife didn't know about. By tomorrow afternoon, they'll both receive subtle reminders that some investigations aren't worth pursuing. My stomach turned. That's evil? Corrupt? Necessary? He shrugged, winced at the movement. Welcome to my world, Anya. Everyone has pressure points. Everyone can be motivated. And what's mine? I asked quietly. My visa? My safety? What lever are you planning to use? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, none. You're not leverage. You're not an asset. Then what am I? I don't know yet. His eyes held mine. But I'm going to find out. Chapter 4. The Watchersi didn't hear from Dominic for 3 days. I told myself it was relief. That the absence of his texts, his calls, his unsettling attention meant I could return to normal life, work my shifts, avoid eye contact with the black sedans that seemed to multiply on every corner, pretend the world hadn't cracked open to reveal something brutal and magnetic underneath. But on the 4th day, Patricia fired me. It's not personal, she said, not meeting my eyes as she handed me an envelope. 2 weeks severance. Cash. The agency is restructuring. Last hired, first let go. Patricia, don't make this harder than it is. Her hands trembled slightly. Take the money. Find something else. Forget you ever worked that gallery event. Someone had gotten to her. The realization settled cold in my chest. I cleaned out my locker apron, non-slip shoes, a spare blazer, and walked out into October rain. The city looked different now, menacing. Every stranger a potential threat. Every glance held calculation. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. But I knew. I heard about your job. Meet me. I typed back quickly. Did you do this? No. But I know who did. 1 hour. Same place. I should have ignored it. Should have gone home, started job hunting, rebuilt the careful distance I'd maintained between myself and danger. Instead, I found myself on the subway, heading downtown, rain-soaked and angry. The restaurant was quieter this time, barely half full. Dominic waited at the same corner table, but he wasn't alone. The silver-haired man Salvatore sat across from him, and another man I didn't recognize. Younger, handsome in a polished way, with the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. Dominic stood when he saw me. Anya, you said to meet you. You didn't mention company. My uncle wanted to speak with you. He gestured to the chair beside him. Please. Salvatore's gaze was cooler than I remembered assessing. Miss Volkov, thank you for coming. Did I have a choice? The younger man laughed. I like her. She's got spine. This is Marco Calabresi, Dominic said tightly. From the family I mentioned, understanding clicked. Enemy territory. Why is he here? Negotiations, Salvatore said smoothly. We're attempting to reach certain accommodations. Your name came up. Ice flooded my veins. My name. Marco leaned forward, still smiling. See, there's a problem. My family has sources inside the NIPT, and those sources say a very pretty Belarusian server was in the wrong place at the wrong time. That she might have seen things that could complicate business arrangements. I didn't see anything. I said, maybe, maybe not. Marco's smile widened. But perception is reality in our world. And the perception is that the Russos have a witness they're protecting. A liability. Dominic's hand moved beneath the table. I sensed rather than saw the violence coiling in him. She's not part of this. She became part of it when you decided to play hero. Marco's eyes flicked to me. No offense, sweetheart, but you're a complication. And complications get resolved. Enough. Salvatore's voice cut through the tension. Marco, We discuss this. The girl is untouchable. That was the agreement. The agreement was contingent on certain concessions, which your nephew seems reluctant to make. My hands clenched in my lap. What concessions? No one answered. Dominic's jaw was tight, a muscle jumping beneath the skin. Salvatore maintained his diplomatic mask. Marco looked amused, like this was entertainment. The Calabrese family controls the ports, Dominic finally said. We've been negotiating expanded access for our shipments. They want a larger percentage, and they're using me as leverage. They're trying to. His eyes met mine, something fierce burning there. It won't work, Marco chuckled. Such devotion, for a girl you met 4 days ago, makes a man wonder what's so special. Watch yourself, Dominic said quietly. Or what? You'll start another war? Marco stood, buttoning his jacket. Think carefully, Dominic. Business or pride? You can't have both. He nodded to me. Pleasure meeting you, Miss Volkov. I hope we don't meet again under less pleasant circumstances. He left, trailing 2 bodyguards I hadn't noticed lurking near the bar. Salvatore sighed, suddenly looking every one of his 60-some years. You see what you've created. He's right. She's a liability. She's under my protection. Your protection isn't infinite. Salvatore stood, gripping his nephew's shoulder. Fix this. One way or another. We can't afford weakness right now. Then I was alone with Dominic, the restaurant feeling cavernous around us. I'm sorry, he said. For what? Getting me fired? Making me a target? Dragging me into your mob politics? My voice rose. I had a life. Simple, safe, boring. And now you're in danger because of me. I know. He reached across the table, his hand covering mine. His palm was warm, calloused. I can fix this. How? Give them what they want. The port access. The percentage. Make you irrelevant to the negotiation. And if that doesn't work? His fingers tightened. Then I find another way. I pulled my hand back. Why? Why do you care what happens to me? He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, in the gallery, when my uncle would have made you disappear, you looked at me like I was human. Not a boss. Not a weapon. Just a man who needed help. He paused. No one's looked at me that way in a very long time. The confession felt raw, unguarded, dangerous in its honesty. I need to go, I said, standing. Anya, don't follow me. Don't call me. Don't send your people to watch my apartment. I grabbed my bag. Fix your war, Dominic. Leave me out of it. I made it to the door before he spoke again. I can't. I didn't turn around. Didn't trust myself to. Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving the streets slick and reflecting neon. A car idled at the curb, not one of Dominic's. The window rolled down. Detective Chen looked out at me. Get in, Anya. We need to talk. Chapter 5. The proposition I didn't get in the car. I have nothing to say to you, I said. Chen's expression was patient, worn. Then just listen. 5 minutes, please. Against my better judgment, I slid into the back seat. Morrison sat in front, silent. The car smelled like stale coffee and the particular desperation of late-night stakeouts. Chen handed me a folder. Inside were photographs, surveillance shots of Dominic entering buildings, meeting with men in expensive suits, standing over bodies I couldn't quite see clearly. Each image was time-stamped, annotated. Dominic Russo, Chen said. 32. Harvard Business School dropout. Runs enforcement for the Russo family. 12 suspected murders. None we can prove. Extortion, racketeering, human trafficking. Human trafficking? My voice sounded distant. Port operations. Girls from Eastern Europe. Mostly. Some for the clubs. Some for worse. She paused. Girls like you, Anya. Nausea crawled up my throat. You're lying. I wish I was. Chen pulled out another photo. Younger women, terrified eyes, being loaded into vans at dock warehouses. This is what your new friend protects. What he profits from. I stared at the images, trying to reconcile them with the man who'd looked at me with something like wonder, who'd said no one saw him as human anymore. Why are you showing me this? Because you're sleeping with the enemy and you don't even know it yet. Chen leaned forward. He's grooming you, Anya, making you feel special, protected. It's what they do. And when you're fully compromised, when you've crossed enough lines that going back isn't an option, they own you. I'm not sleeping with him. Not yet. Morrison spoke without turning around. But you will be. They always close the trap eventually. We can protect you, Chen said. Real protection. Not the kind that comes with strings attached. But we need your cooperation. You want me to inform on him. We want you to help us build a case. Wear a wire when you meet with him. Document his movements. Tell us what you see. I thought of Dominic's hand covering mine, the raw confession about being seen as human. The way violence and vulnerability existed in him simultaneously, inseparable. And if I refuse? Chen's face hardened. Then you're choosing a side. And when we finally bring down the Russo family and you'll go down with them. Accessory charges at minimum. Deportation at best. That's not a choice. That's coercion. That's reality. She pulled out a card, different from the first. You have 24 hours to decide. Call this number. Ask for me directly. She paused at the door. Those girls in the photos? They thought they were special too. Right up until they weren't. The car pulled away, leaving me alone on the rain-slicked street. I walked for hours, not caring about direction, trying to sort truth from manipulation. Everyone wanted something. The police wanted an informant. The Calabrese family wanted leverage. Salvatore wanted the problem solved. And Dominic? What did he want? I found myself outside a church street. Anthony's, the Russian Orthodox cathedral where my grandmother used to light candles. I hadn't been inside in 2 years, not since her funeral. But my feet carried me through the heavy doors into incense and shadow. The sanctuary was empty except for an old woman in the front pew. I lit a candle, watched the flame catch and hold, and tried to pray. But my grandmother's God felt distant, uninterested in the moral mathematics of choosing between monsters. My phone buzzed. Dominic, are you safe? Define safe. Not dead. Not arrested. Not in immediate danger. Then yes. For now. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. I need to see you. Not at the restaurant. Somewhere private. Every instinct screamed warning. Chen's words echoed. He's grooming you. Why? Because I'm going to tell you the truth. All of it. And then you can decide if you still want nothing to do with me. I should have said no. Should have blocked his number, called Chen, disappeared into the vastness of the city. Instead, where? My apartment. I'll send a car. 1 hour. I can get there myself. Anya, please, let me do this one thing. Let me make sure you arrive safely. The vulnerability in that request undid something in me. This man who commanded armies, who made people disappear, asking permission to protect me. Fine. 1 hour. I sat in that church for 55 minutes. Candle burning down to nothing, weighing the cost of curiosity against survival. Chen's photos haunted me, but so did Dominic's eyes in the gallery. The way he'd stepped between me and death without hesitation. The car that arrived was unmarked, driven by the gentle giant who'd met me at the restaurant. He opened the door without speaking, and I climbed in, sealing whatever fate I was choosing. Dominic's building was in Soho. All glass and steel, the kind of place where doormen wore better suits than I owned. The elevator required a keycard. We rode to the penthouse in silence. He was waiting when the doors opened. Changed from his suit into dark jeans and a black sweater, barefoot. The casual domesticity was somehow more unsettling than the formal dinners. This was Dominic, unguarded or pretending to be. Thank you for coming, he said. His apartment was minimalist floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Leather furniture, abstract art that probably cost more than my yearly salary. But there were small human touches. Books stacked on the coffee table, a half-empty whiskey glass, photographs on the mantle of a younger Dominic with people who must have been family. Drink? He offered. Truth, I said. You promise me truth. He poured himself whiskey anyway, his movements careful around the shoulder wound. Then he turned to face me fully. Ask me anything, he said. I'll answer. No deflection, no lies. And then you decide if you walk away or stay. I thought of the photos in Chen's folder. Human trafficking. The girls at the ports. Tell me it's not true. His expression didn't change. I can't. Chapter 6. The truth in shadows. The admission hung between us like smoke. You admit it. My voice was hollow. You're part of that. I was. Dominic set down his glass with deliberate care. Past tense. Sit down, Anya. Please. This story is longer than you think. I don't want to sit, then stand. But listen. He moved to the window, putting distance between us. Smart. I was vibrating with the urge to flee or scream, or both. 5 years ago, my uncle controlled those operations. Girls from Moldova, Ukraine, Belarus, your country, brought in through the ports. sold to clubs or worse. It was, he paused, jaw tight, profitable. You're telling me this like it's a business report, because if I let myself feel it, I can't finish. He turned to face me. I was 27, fresh out of Harvard, thinking I could change things from the inside. My uncle put me in charge of port operations, said it was a test of loyalty, and you passed. For 6 months, yes. I moved the shipments, collected the payments, looked the other way when girls disappeared into the city. His hands clenched, and every night I went home and drank until I couldn't remember their faces. I wanted to feel nothing for him, wanted the confession to be simple, damning. But his voice carried a weight that spoke of old wounds, badly healed. What changed? Her name was Irina, 17, from Minsk. He pulled a photograph from his wallet, creased, worn from handling. A girl with dark eyes and a cautious smile. She reminded me of my sister. Same hair, same way of looking at the world, like it might hurt her. What happened to her? One of our clients got rough. She fought back. He killed her. Dominic's voice went flat, controlled. Dumped her body in the East River like garbage. The room felt airless. Outside, the city glittered, indifferent. I found out who did it, tracked him down myself. And he stopped, the muscle in his jaw jumping. I made sure he suffered. Then I went to my uncle and told him we were getting out of that business. And he agreed? Just like that? No, he fought. He said I was weak, sentimental. That this was how our world worked. Dominic's smile was bitter. But I had leverage. Evidence of his operations. Enough to bring down the entire family if I wanted. So we made a deal. I'd handle the port operations. But no more girls. No more trafficking. Just cargo. Legitimate and otherwise. You're asking me to believe you became a humanitarian. I'm asking you to believe I drew a line. One line in an ocean of blood, but mine. He crossed to me, stopping just outside of touching distance. The girls in those photos Detective Chen showed you? They're from 2 years ago. Before I took over. Before I burned those shipping routes down and made sure everyone knew the Russos don't traffic in people anymore. But you still kill people. Still extort. Still run drugs and guns and whatever else pays. Yes. No hesitation. No justification. I'm not asking you to absolve me, Anya. I'm explaining why I won't let the Calabrese family use you as leverage. Because I've already failed to protect one innocent woman. I won't fail again. The honesty was brutal. Part of me wished he'd lied, made excuses, given me a clean reason to hate him. Instead, he stood before me with all his damage visible, offering no redemption. Show me proof, I said quietly. What? Proof that you shut it down. That the trafficking stopped. I need to see it. Something shifted in his expression, surprise, maybe respect. He nodded, pulling out his phone. These are port manifests from 3 years ago. He scrolled through documents, highlighted entries. See the codes? RG-17. That was the designation for human cargo. My stomach turned. Now look at the current manifests. He pulled up new files. No, RG-17. Not for 2 years. Just standard shipments. I can show you financial records, communication logs, whatever you need. I studied the documents, trying to find deception in the data. But the numbers didn't lie. The trafficking designations had disappeared. The Calabrese family, I said. They still do it. That's why Marco mentioned the ports. Yes, they want access to our shipping routes to restart the operations. More efficient, harder to track. Dominic's voice hardened. Which is why I'll give them everything else they want except that. And that's why I'm leverage. Because you care more about keeping that route clean than about business. Because I care more about you than about making peace with them. The words landed like a physical touch. I looked up, met his eyes. The intensity there stole my breath. You don't know me, I whispered. I know you didn't run. I know you protect yourself without becoming cruel. I know. You're standing in the apartment of a mobster, demanding proof of his humanity instead of just accepting the easy answer. He took a step closer. I know that when you look at me, you see both the monster and the man. And you haven't decided which one is real. Maybe they both are. Yes. He raised his hand slowly, giving me time to pull away. His fingers brushed my cheek, feather light. Does that terrify you? My heart hammered against my ribs. Yes. Good. It should. His thumb traced my jawline. I'm going to ask you something. And you can say no. You can walk out of here, and I'll still protect you. I'll still make sure the Calabrese family never touches you. No strings. Ask. Stay tonight. Not for, he paused. Not for anything physical. Just stay. Let me keep you safe for one night. Let me prove that I mean what I say. Every rational thought screamed to refuse. To run. To call Detective Chen and end this before it consumed me completely. But I was so tired of being afraid. Tired of survival without living. One night, I heard myself say, "And you sleep on the couch." His smile was small, genuine. Deal. Chapter 7. The breaking point. He woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of low voices. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then memory returned. Dominic's apartment, his massive bed that I'd eventually accepted after an hour of awkward negotiation, his insistence on giving me one of his shirts to sleep in. The fabric still carried his scent, sandalwood and something darker, indefinable. The bedside clock read 6:47 a.m. Through the cracked bedroom door, I could see into the living room. Dominic stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear, shoulders rigid. "I don't care what Salvatore says. The answer is no." His voice was cold, controlled. "Tell Marco the ports stay closed to that trade. Permanently." A pause. Then, "He can threaten whatever he wants. I'm not negotiating on this." I should have announced myself. Should have given him privacy. Instead, I stayed silent, listening. Because some things aren't for sale. Another pause, longer this time. "Yes, I understand the risk. Yes, I know what it means." His free hand clenched into a fist. "I don't care." He ended the call with enough force that I heard the screen crack. Then he just stood there, forehead pressed against the glass, breathing slowly. I slipped out of bed, padding barefoot across cold hardwood. "Dominic?" He turned, and I saw the exhaustion carved into his features. He hadn't slept. His shoulder wound had bled through the bandage, a dark stain spreading across his white t-shirt. "You're hurt," I said. "It's nothing. It's not nothing. Sit down." To my surprise, he obeyed, sinking onto the couch with a barely suppressed wince. I found the first aid kit in his bathroom, military grade, well stocked, and returned to find him pulling off his shirt. The wound was angry, inflamed. He'd been moving too much, refusing to rest. "Typical. This needs stitches," I said, cleaning around the edges. "Had stitches. Pulled them. Idiot." "Probably." He watched me work, his gaze heavy. "You don't have to do this." "Clearly I do. Since you won't take care of yourself." I applied antibiotic ointment with careful precision, the way my grandmother had taught me. That call, it was about me, not a question. He didn't insult me by pretending otherwise. The Calabrese family made their final offer. 50% of port revenue, full access to shipping routes, including the ones I closed. His jaw tightened. "In exchange, they drop their interest in you. Guarantee your safety." My hands stilled. "And you said no." I said no. "Why?" I looked up at him, confused and angry, and something else I didn't want to name. "Take the deal. Give them what they want. I can disappear. Change cities. Change my name, they'd still find you. Men like Marco don't forget leverage." His hand covered mine, stilling my movements. "And I won't reopen those routes. Not for peace. Not for profit. Not even for you. That doesn't make sense. You barely know me." "I know enough." His thumb traced circles on my wrist, over my pulse. "I know you're worth more than blood money. I know I'd burn my entire empire before I let them touch you." The intensity in his voice frightened me. Not because I thought he was lying, but because I believed him completely. "What happens now?" I whispered. "Now Marco escalates. He'll come after me directly. Try to prove I'm weak. That sentiment makes me vulnerable." Dominic's expression hardened. "And when that doesn't work, he'll come after you anyway. As punishment, so I'm dead either way." "No," he stood abruptly, ignoring the blood seeping through fresh bandages. "You're leaving the city. Tonight, I have a house in Montana, remote, secure. My people will take you there, keep you safe until this is resolved." "Resolved how?" "By you starting a war? If necessary." I stood too, anger finally overriding fear. "And what am I supposed to do? Hide in Montana while you get yourself killed over some misguided sense of honor? You're supposed to survive. That's all that matters." "To who? You?" I pushed against his chest, felt the heat of him through bandages and skin. "I didn't ask for this. Didn't ask to be a redemption project. Your second chance at saving some girl you couldn't protect before." His hands caught my wrists, not forceful, but firm. "You think that's what this is?" "I don't know what this is." My voice cracked. I don't know if you're a good man trying to be better, or a monster pretending at humanity. I don't know if I should trust you or run from you or he kissed me. It wasn't gentle. Wasn't the careful, controlled touch I'd expected. It was desperate and fierce, and tasted like coffee and copper from his bitten lip. His hands framed my face, thumbs stroking my cheekbones, and I felt the tremor in them, fear or want or both. I should have pulled away. Should have remembered all the reasons this was catastrophically stupid. Instead, I kissed him back, my hands fisted in his hair, pulling him closer even as some rational part of my brain screamed warnings. He made a sound low in his throat, pained or pleased, and deepened the kiss. His tongue swept against mine, claiming, and I let him. Let myself drown in the taste and heat and terrifying rightness of it. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. I can't let you go, he whispered. I know I should. I know it's selfish. But I can't. Then don't. The words came out before I could stop them. Don't send me away. Let me stay. Let me choose this, even if it's stupid. Anya, his phone rang. The gentle giant's number. Dominic answered, his expression shifting from want to warning in seconds. When? A pause. How many? Another pause, longer. Then, lock down the building. I'm on my way. He hung up, already moving toward the bedroom. Get dressed, fast. The Calabrese family just hit one of our warehouses. 3 dead. What does that mean? He looked at me, and I saw it clearly. The monster and the man, inseparable. It means the war just started. Chapter 8. Fire and broken glass. The warehouse was still burning when we arrived. Dominic had insisted I stay at the apartment. I'd refused. Something had shifted between us in that kiss. Some barrier demolished. If I was choosing him, I needed to see all of it. The blood and ashen consequences. Now, standing in the rain-soaked parking lot, watching flames lick through broken windows, I wondered if I'd made a terrible mistake. 3 body bags lay in a neat row near the ambulances. Dominic stood over them, stone-faced, while his men gave reports in low voices. I stayed back near the car, trying not to look at the dark stains spreading across black plastic. Coordinated hit, someone was saying. They came in fast, knew exactly where the guards would be. Professional? Cameras? Dominic's voice was flat, empty. Cut. They knew the security layout. Inside job. Not a question. Dominic's jaw tightened. Find them. I want names by morning. Salvatore arrived in a black Mercedes, flanked by 4 bodyguards. He looked at the burning warehouse. The bodies, his nephew, and his expression hardened. My office. 1 hour. He didn't wait for response, just climbed back into his car. Dominic watched him leave, something dark moving behind his eyes. Then he turned, saw me standing in the rain, and his expression cracked just for a moment, just enough to show the weight he carried. He crossed to me in quick strides. You shouldn't be here. Neither should you. Not with that shoulder. My men died tonight. I should be here. He cupped my face, thumbs brushing away rainwater. But you, Christ, Anya. If something happened to you, nothing happened. I'm fine. This time. His hands trembled slightly. Marco sent a message tonight. This is what happens when I say no. When I choose you over business. Then unchoose me. I forced the words out. Make the deal. Stop the war before more people die. No, Dominic, no. He pulled me closer until I could feel his heart hammering against my cheek. I've spent my entire life making the practical choice. The smart choice. Choosing survival over principles. Not this time. Behind us, something in the warehouse collapsed with a shower of sparks. The heat was intense, even from this distance. Come on. He guided me back to the car. I need to see my uncle. You're coming with me. Is that safe? His smile was grim. Nowhere is safe anymore. Salvatore's office was in a renovated brownstone in Brooklyn, the kind of place that screamed old money and older secrets. Leather-bound books lined the walls. A Caravaggio hung above the fireplace, original, probably stolen. Salvatore sat behind a massive desk, fingers steepled, while Dominic and I stood before him like children, called to the principal's office. 3 dead, Salvatore said quietly. 2 million in product destroyed. And for what? A girl. Don't. Dominic's voice carried warning. You've started a war over a server you've known for a week. Salvatore stood, pouring himself scotch. Explain to me how that's rational. It's not about rationality. It's about principle. Principle? Salvatore laughed, but there was no humor in it. We're not principled men, Dominic. We're predators in expensive suits. We survive by being smarter, crueler, more practical than everyone else. Sentiment is a luxury we cannot afford. Then maybe I'm tired of survival. Maybe I want to actually live. The temperature in the room dropped. Salvatore's eyes narrowed. What are you saying? I'm saying I won't reopen the trafficking routes. Not for Marco. Not for you. Not for anyone. Dominic's voice was steady, certain. And if that means war, then we go to war. You'd destroy everything I've built? Everything your father died protecting? Salvatore's control was slipping. For her? For the idea that we can be more than what we've been. That we can draw lines and actually keep them. Salvatore looked at me then. Really looked. Tell him he's being a fool. I should have begged Dominic to reconsider, to choose peace over whatever doomed romanticism had taken root between us. Instead, he's already made his choice. Respect it or don't, but stop trying to manipulate him with guilt. Salvatore's expression shifted: surprise, anger, reassessment. You have spine. I'll give you that. He turned back to Dominic. Fine, you want your war? You'll have it. But understand this. When the bodies start piling up, when our allies abandon us, when the feds start circling, that blood is on your hands. I know. And when they come for her because they will, you'd better be prepared to watch her die. Because that's how this ends. That's how it always ends. Dominic's hand found mine, squeezed tight. Then I'll make sure I die first. We left before Salvatore could respond. In the car, Dominic stared out the window, jaw tight. He's right, you know, I said softly. This could destroy you. I know. Then why? He turned to me, and the rawness in his eyes nearly broke me. Because for the first time in my life, I'm choosing something that matters more than power, more than legacy, more than survival. His hand cradled my face. I'm choosing you, even if it's selfish, even if it's stupid, even if we both burn. I kissed him because words felt inadequate, because he was offering me something terrifying and precious, not protection, not promises, but the truth of what we were risking. When we broke apart, his phone was ringing. The gentle giant, Dominic answered, listened, and went very still. What? I asked. They found the informant, the one who gave Marco our security layouts. His voice was hollow. It's someone close to me, someone I trusted. Who? He looked at me, and I saw the moment his heart broke. My sister, Elena. Chapter 9. Blood and Betrayal. Elena Russo sat in a safe house in Queens, hands zip-tied to a metal chair. Mascara streaked down her face. She was beautiful in that careless way wealthy girls often are: honey blonde hair, designer clothes even in captivity, the kind of bone structure that belonged on magazine covers. She looked nothing like Dominic. Different mothers, he'd explained during the silent drive. Same ruthless bloodline. Nico. Her voice cracked when she saw him. Thank God. Tell them this is a mistake. Tell them. Shut up, Elena. The coldness in his tone made her flinch. Made me flinch. This was the man Detective Chen had warned me about, the enforcer, the killer. Not the vulnerable soul who'd kissed me like I was salvation. The gentle giant stood in the corner, expression neutral. Two other men flanked the door. The room smelled like fear and cheap carpet. Dominic pulled up a chair, sat facing his sister. When did it start? I don't know what you're talking about. He moved faster than I could track, his hand striking the table beside her, the crack like a gunshot. Elena jumped, genuine terror flooding her eyes. When did it start? 6 months ago. The words tumbled out. Marco approached me at a gallery opening. Said he just wanted to talk. Get to know the family better. And you believed him. I was lonely. Her voice rose, defensive. You're always working. Uncle Sal treats me like a child. Marco listened. Made me feel. She paused. Important. So you sold us out for attention. Dominic's laugh was bitter. Christ, Elena. Do you have any idea what you've done? He said no one would get hurt. He just needed information about the warehouses, the security schedules. He said it was about sending you a message, making you negotiate. 3 men are dead. Good men with families. Dominic leaned forward. And you helped kill them. Elena's face crumpled. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. You didn't care. His voice went quiet, lethal. You were so busy playing the tragic princess that you didn't bother to think about consequences. I stood near the wall, feeling like an intruder in this family implosion. But I couldn't look away. This was the cost of Dominic's world, betrayal from the people closest to him, violence as the only language anyone understood. What did you tell him about Anya? Dominic asked. Elena's eyes flicked to me. Just that you were protecting someone, that she was important to you. Did you tell him where she lives? Where she works? No, I swear, I didn't. Where she worked, I corrected quietly. Past tense. They already made sure I got fired. Elena's expression shifted: guilt, shame, something almost like sympathy. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you to get caught up in this. But you knew she would. Dominic stood, began pacing. You knew Marco would use her against me. And you told him anyway. I was angry at you. You chose some random girl over family, over business. I wanted you to see how it felt to have everything fall apart because of someone else's selfishness. The irony of her words seemed lost on her. Dominic stopped pacing, stared at his sister like he was seeing a stranger. You're just like our father, he said finally. All emotion, no thought. It got him killed too. Don't. Elena's voice broke. Please, Nico, I'm your sister. I made a mistake, but I'm still your sister. My sister died when she sold out her family for a man who's using her. He turned to the gentle giant. Take her to the Vermont property. Keep her there. No phone, no internet, no contact with anyone until this is over. You can't lock me up like a prisoner. I can. I am. Dominic's jaw tightened. Because if Salvatore finds out what you've done, he won't be as forgiving. He'll have you killed, Elena. Blood or not. Understanding dawned on her face. You're protecting me. I'm containing the damage. There's a difference. He headed for the door, stopped. And Elena? If anything happens to Anya because of information you gave Marco, sister or not, I'll kill you myself. He meant it. I could hear the truth of it in his voice. Outside in the car, Dominic gripped the steering wheel with white knuckles. His shoulder was bleeding again, the bandage soaked through. You need to see a doctor, I said. I need a drink. Or 10. Dominic, my own sister. His voice cracked. My own blood sold me out. For what? A pretty smile and false promises? I touched his hand gently. She's young, manipulated. She didn't understand. She understood enough. He pulled away, started the engine. Everyone I trust betrays me eventually. My father chose pride over family. My uncle chooses profit over principle. My sister chose a stranger over her own brother. He looked at me, eyes dark with pain. Tell me why I should trust you're any different. The words stung, but I understood them. He was lashing out from a place of hurt, testing me the way wounded animals bite. You shouldn't, I said quietly. Trust should be earned, not given. And I haven't earned yours any more than you've earned mine. He blinked, surprised by my honesty. But, I continued, I'm still here. Still choosing to stay, even when every rational part of me screams to run. Maybe that counts for something. Maybe it doesn't. You decide. For a long moment, he just looked at me. Then he pulled me close, buried his face in my hair, and I felt him shake with silent, furious grief. I can't lose you too, he whispered. I can't. Then don't let go. His arms tightened. Never. We stayed like that, two broken people clinging to each other in the darkness until his phone shattered the moment. Marco's number. Dominic answered on speaker. What? Dominic. I hear you've had some family trouble. Marco's voice stripped false sympathy. Tragic, really. But I'm calling with good news. I'm ready to end this. One final meeting. You, me, neutral ground. We settle this like civilized men. Why would I trust that? Because if you don't come, my next visit is to a certain Belarusian girl's apartment. And I won't be as gentle as you've been. My blood turned to ice. Dominic's voice went deadly calm. When and where? Tonight, midnight. The old Pier 47 warehouse. Come alone, or she dies. The line went dead. Chapter 10. Midnight at Pier 47. You're not going alone. Dominic was loading a gun, calm, methodical, like he was preparing for a business meeting instead of a potential execution. We were back at his apartment, and he'd barely spoken since Marco's call. I am. He checked the clip, slid it home with a decisive click. This is between Marco and me. He threatened me. That makes it my business too. Exactly why you're staying here. He crossed to me, gripped my shoulders. Anya, listen to me. This is a trap. Marco doesn't want to negotiate. He wants to prove a point that sentiment is weakness, that caring about someone makes you vulnerable. Then prove him wrong. Let me come with you. Show him that caring makes you stronger, not weaker, or it gets us both killed. His hands tightened. I can't focus if you're there. Can't think strategically if I'm worried about keeping you safe. So what's your plan? Walk in there and hope for the best? Walk in there and end this. One way or another. He pulled a second gun from a drawer, smaller, fitted for my hand. But just in case if anyone comes here who isn't me or my people, you use this. Don't hesitate. Don't ask questions. Just shoot. I took the gun, hating the weight of it. I don't know how. Safety's here. Point and pull the trigger. At close range, you can't miss, he demonstrated with quick efficiency, then pressed it into my hands. Promise me you'll use it if you have to. Dominic, promise me. I promise. He kissed me then hard, desperate, like he was memorizing the taste of me. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. If something happens to me tonight, he whispered, there's an envelope in the top drawer of my desk. Money, new identity papers, contacts who can get you out of the country. Take it and run. Don't look back. Nothing's going to happen. But if it does, stop. I framed his face with my hands. You're coming back. You're going to end this. And then we're going to figure out what comes next. Together. He wanted to believe it. I could see the hope warring with realism in his eyes. I love you, he said suddenly. I know it's insane. I know it's too fast. But I need you to know before I kissed him to stop the words. Poured everything I felt into it, fear and hope and the terrifying realization that I loved him too. This broken, dangerous man who'd chosen me over his empire. When we finally broke apart, he grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. Dominic, he turned. Come back to me. His smile was small, sad. Always. Then he was gone, and I was alone with a loaded gun and the suffocating weight of waiting. I lasted 20 minutes before breaking my promise. The gun went in my purse. I called a car. If Dominic thought I'd sit safely in his apartment while he walked into an ambush, he didn't know me as well as he thought. Pier 47 was abandoned, scheduled for demolition. The warehouse loomed against the night sky, broken windows, rusted metal, the smell of salt water and decay. A single black car sat in the lot. Dominic's. I approached on foot, staying in shadows. Through a gap in the warehouse wall, I could see them, Dominic and Marco, facing each other in the cavernous space. No guards visible, but I knew they were there, watching, waiting. You came alone, Marco said. I'm impressed. Let's skip the theater. What do you want? What I've always wanted. Respect, power, control. Marco circled slowly. And to prove that your little moral crusade is nothing but weakness wearing a noble mask, you proved nothing. Just that you're willing to kill innocent people to make a point. Innocent? Marco laughed. In our world, there's no such thing. Everyone's dirty. Everyone's complicit. Your girl included. Leave her out of this. Why? She's the whole reason we're here. Marco pulled out his phone, and suddenly the warehouse filled with light floodlights illuminating every corner. I wanted her to see this. To watch what happens to men who choose love over loyalty. My blood froze. He knew I'd come. Had counted on it. Show yourself, Anya. Marco called. Or I start shooting parts of him until you do. Dominic's expression went murderous. You son of a now. Let's be civilized. Marco pulled his own gun, aimed it at Dominic's leg. 10 seconds. 9, 8. I stepped out of the shadows, hands raised. I'm here. Dominic's face went white. Anya, run. Please, too late for that. Marco's smile widened. Perfect. Now we can all witness this together. The death of Dominic Russo's illusions. He raised his gun, aimed at Dominic's heart. Everything happened at once. Gunfire erupted from the rafters, not Marco's men, but Dominic's. The gentle giant and a dozen others, positioned before we'd even arrived. Dominic moved, tackling me to the ground as bullets tore through the air. Marco dove for cover, returning fire. You bastard. You set me up. No, Dominic's voice was cold, certain. I just knew you couldn't resist an audience. Your ego's always been your weakness, Marco. The firefight lasted 3 minutes. Then silence, broken only by groaning metal and ragged breathing. Marco lay on his back, blood pooling beneath him. Dominic stood over him, gun steady. Any last words? Dominic asked. Marco coughed, blood on his lips. She'll ruin you. Love always does. Maybe. Dominic looked at me, and his expression softened. But some things are worth ruining for. He didn't pull the trigger. Instead, he lowered his gun, turned away. Get him medical attention. Then turn him over to the feds. Let him rot in prison. Marco's laugh was wet, pained. Mercy? You've already lost, Russo. No, Dominic pulled me close. I've already won. 3 months later, Terry watched from the kitchen window as Dominic played with the neighbor's dog in the backyard of our Montana house. The war had ended. Salvatore had negotiated peace. The trafficking routes stayed closed, and we'd disappeared into a new life, quieter, simpler, still complicated, but ours. Dominic caught me watching, smiled. That smile still made my heart race. He came inside, pulled me close. Regrets? Every day. I kissed him. But I'd choose you again. Every time. Even knowing what it cost. Especially knowing, outside, snow began to fall. Inside, we built something new from the ashes of who we'd been. Not perfect. Not safe, but real. And maybe, finally, free.